let's just start, and then something's gonna happen.
Yeah, totally. So one of the big insight, well, I mean, I've been speaking into this for several years, but it's coming through really palpably right now because I feel the collective unified consciousness awakening to this realization of true oneness and synchronization with the self. And so for us to actually realize global unification, a depth coherence has to happen at the level of sovereign individuated self first. And so we're in this profound time where we're all recognizing that we're all one. So we're looking out and we're just recognizing facets of our own mind, our own consciousness, our own interbeing fractalize out onto the movie screen of our life. And we're starting to find a unification within and go, okay, so I'm always engaging with the self. I'm always engaging with the source. And in the context of this synchrony that's happening within, realizing, like, coming into radical alignment in our lives, just to keep it simple, is what am I actually in deep integrity with? What am I deeply synchronized to? What is my truth? What is in flow for me? What is in harmony with my being? And dialing all of those beautiful facets of our life in at an even greater depth than ever before, which is so extraordinary because it's so, you talked about this, super natural because it's so effortless, it's so organic, and it's so liberating to literally just go, okay, everything in my life works when I'm in harmony with myself. And so I'm going to choose things that I'm in total harmony and resonance with across the board in my life, and this is pertinent to, all the way from the micro level of the nutrition, what we ingest, what we eat, what we listen to, what we select to surround ourselves by in our environment, our relationships, our life, our lifestyle, our service, all the ways that there's that alignment there. So there's this gorgeous invitation for us to all come into deeper alignment with our truth. And the magnificence of this is that the more that we just do that and we just give that to ourselves and we're fully, completely, radically honest about what do I actually want, not what do I think I can have, not what do I think that is available to me, but in the realm of infinite possibilities and potentials, what does my soul want? What is that? What is aligned to the richness of my heart? What does that world look like? What does that reality look like? And stepping into that and starting to just gracefully orbit out of the sphere of things that aren't in that perfect synchrony anymore. And that's an ongoing process in creation. We're always dialing and refining and orbiting and flowing into these new worlds. But never before have I experienced such and I've seen other people experiencing this too, such an exponential accelerated rate at which everything is landing. Like massive things. We were talking about this. It's as easy to manifest a castle as a button. Literally. And one of the things that I just manifested in my world is a castle. Like not a little literal castle. Or a little
kind of a literal one.
Kind of a literal castle. Well, yeah,
it's pretty literal.
And just because that's my truth and that's what I want and that's what I've been dreaming into being. And when we allow ourselves to desire what we truly desire instead of getting, so what I'm essentially getting to the point of here is that a lot of the resistance to our own creation, to giving ourselves our own creation, is starting to orbit out of the collective field of intelligence itself. So there's way less friction in our flow and way less of a time lapse between where we are and where we want to be. So it's just even the moment, these beautiful subtle moments of ecstasy where we go within and we're cultivating our vision and we're feeling the warmth and the bliss and the ecstasy and the beauty of being connected to the truth of our soul. These things are manifest, like worlds dropping into worlds is the way that I experience it. You're a pro. with this. It's like I'm living in this world and I'm going into this space to utilize my intertechnologies, my imagination, to open up into the field of multidimensional possibility. I'm going to select one thing and I'm going to feel myself in the visceral experience of that reality. And then once you're done with the visioning stuff, you just live in your joy and your, appreciation of the here and now, and creating all that you're guided to create, and engaging your intuition and just living life. And it just drops a world within a world, just like phases in to the hologram.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. Like,
yes.
Sometimes I wish, because there's so much magic that graces, I think that grace is all of our path. When our perception is open and we can truly see in every moment, there is magic and grace sprinkled upon our path. And some of these things, they're just so abounding and so abundant. It's like to want it to give and to share the experience of what is actually landing, and to even just have the physical representation, which is also, it's ultimately a creation of what is the work that is done in the etheric planes and brought through into the physical. It's just awe-striking and captivating to go, this is how exquisitely easy it can be to manifest something of this magnitude.
And it's so fun. Yeah, what I was feeling as you were speaking is micro attuning to your exquisite truth. Right? The micro attunement to the intricacies of our exquisite truth. In every moment, in every area. And the inner, all that is needed is that inner calibration or attunement or landing upon the flavor, the frequency, the flavor, and just knowing that is the truth. That is so. That is the truth. There's actually nothing else that has to happen in the process. That's it. It's just the recognition of this is it. This is what this being desires right here. Here it is. Here it is. And it's the sustained, but not through any force. It's just that the being sustains its knowing that that is the truth already. That the desire that appears to not be here in the physical yet, that's what it appears before it has manifested, but that that it is already true, and it's the knowing of that deep truth within, and the landing on and feeling the joy and ecstasy of experiencing it now in our beings. And that's literally all that has to happen for it to appear. And that is ecstasy, right? That's being in the ecstasy already, because that's the desire, and landing in the desire. That is an ecstatic, joyful, playful, fun process.
It's so, and this is so speaking into, we talk about like motivation, inspiration, how do we bring that online in every single moment? Because it seems for most of us, we'll have these peak moments or these moments of inspiration, or these even days or weekends or weeks or even months of just full on peak thriving and living in that highest potential frequency that is accessible to us. And then there's either a crash or a need for an integration, or how do I keep the momentum going? And it's a kind of a motivation, or I like inspiration because it's literally in spirit. So we're living in spirit, we're living in connection to spirit. And it's less of an outward pushing and an inward arising that happens. And it's from the sustainable access to that is from exactly what you're speaking about, and knowing that just the access point of attuning to that frequency and living in that vision in your interworld. Yes. And carrying that frequency through is all that is required for it to land.
Yes.
Is all that is required for it to land. I'm going to say it again. That is all that is required for it to land. Because we have and this is also where, we'd love to just amplify the remembrance that you are God, because a lot of the constructs and limitations that we have designed into the, maybe the collective avatar, the collective mind, or these stipulations that we have put on ourselves. So the first question that I would ask you is, if you're God, what kind of stipulations would you put on yourself for you to have your desire? Would you simply allow yourself to have it because you are the source of creation?
All right. Yes. I don't want to be like, amen, sister. Keep going.
Well, so it's a great way to evaluate our own constructs and beliefs and to see where we generated those, if it's societal, if it's conditioned, if it's pre-programmed, if it's self-perpetuated, and why we do that. And a good way to look at that is, would I place this stipulation on God?
Right. Because
when we do that to ourselves, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. And this is the insidious misperception of separation, that God is something out there. Even though we know we are infinite, there's still, I feel, is a deeper embodiment to land in. You're the actual God. The actual God. Yeah. Like, there's no separation between you and God, literally.
Or you and anything.
Yes, exactly.
And okay, this is beautiful. So anyway, the spark of motivation, of continuous inspiration, is that just visioneering, asking, aligning, feeling is all that's required. And so it's just a matter of how much resistance do you carry in your own being around allowing that to be the eloquent simplicity of it and the truth of it, and letting all of that resistance go, so it can actually phase into you.
Yeah. And I feel a big part of that is landing in the very deep, perpetual knowing that you are actually God, that you are actually infinite, that this is actually the truth. Like that there is nothing in the way of anything.
Yeah.
Unless you want to create something in the way. Right. That's the only way there's going to be, because everything is created from you.
And everything is already actually created.
And everything is created. It's just a choosing of a dimension where that particular desire exists, or that particular embodiment of who you are exists. So, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So I love to call this selecting timelines frequentially, because in the hologram and the eternal now, imagining each facet is its own frame, dimension, timeline, plane, selection, where we can literally select these realities that are already pre-fashioned.
That's right.
In the exact state that you want them to exist in.
That's right.
And all you have to do is attune to it and select it. And then it happens. You don't have to actually generate.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's an inner choosing. And for me, it feels as simple as this. It's a landing upon. It's like making contact. So yeah, this is again letting go of that kind of maybe the more attraction mindset that you have to like maintain as something to like be attracting something in. It's actually just for me, the way I experience it in my own process, it's a becoming of, it's a knowing that I am that which I'm creating. I am the person that has what I am creating. I already am that. Right. I already am the person that I am choosing to be. It's already here, because anything and everything is already here. It's just a choice to land in it and to consciously know yourself as that. And as you consciously choose who you are and what you have and what is created, that's how it manifests. That's how it comes into out there.
And it has to. It actually has to. There's no way that it can't. And so it's so another way to look at like the being, because even in the context of, so this is one of the fascinating things that I've loved to explore. So I look at people like Eckhart Tolle, and I look at people like Tony Robbins and Donald Trump, all these different people who are manifesting and having an impact on a massive scale in the very distinct and unique flavors to their style of creation. And just observing what's really active in all of those spaces and deciding which way I want to create in my own experience. And so the beingness, and Donald Trump was really the one, and I have zero resistance or like around him. I think he's actually a very great teacher for all of us. One, he's an example of total self-love. The man has no resistance to himself whatsoever, and he completely believes in everything that he's doing, whether or not we may perceive it as correct or incorrect and all of this. But he has no resistance to himself. So he chooses and he decides to allow himself to have the thing that he wants to have and experience. And so it happens for him. And so when we're talking about being the thing, and so I'm looking at him too, and I'm going, he's not necessarily the most holy, sanctified, he is at the God source level, but at the level of behavior and choice, we may not perceive that to be the case in some instances. And so with that awareness going, okay, so how is he freely creating all of this? And he didn't have to become a lot of what we in society say we must be in order to have or to experience. So that's just been a fascinating area of research. And even so, and then bringing it back to Eckhart Tolle too. He's not doing any pushing and pulling. He's not pulling and magnetizing and drawing in. And he's not pushing out and projecting. Yes. But what he is doing, and what Donald Trump is doing, is they're resonating. They're resonating the reality that they want. They are full yes in the resonance of that reality. And that transcends, we talk about transcending rules, or, this is what we're talking about. It transcends all of our mind constructed paradigms around what is possible and how it is that we create our experience. And so it's just a simple matter of, how do I resonate when I'm in that reality, when I'm in that vision? How do I feel? What am I experiencing? Because we'll always line up with the reality that we are resonating at. And that's a beautiful way to pick your reality, instead of just to choose. Instead of, this is beautiful too. We use our vision and we think in very like concrete terms of like the thing that we want,
but like up here,
right? But what we actually want is to experience a feeling in that zone. So imagining that you want to manifest a castle, or you want to manifest a group of beautiful sacred beings to co-create with, or if you want to manifest prosperity, or you want to manifest a marriage, or all of this, how do you feel in that vision? And then you just cultivate the felt isness of being in that vision, and automatically you will align to that frequency timeline, and all the beautiful characters and what I'm sure, like adornments is the word that's coming through, but all the gifts that come with resonating in that field and in that sphere. And that's really what you're after. And so then you're in this reality now where you've got a gorgeous husband who loves you unconditionally, and it's easy and natural and it flows and there's no resistance, and everybody's just in their full expression of self, and it's fun and it's playful and it's lit. It's all the things. And it's passionate. And you can go on and on and on. You're surrounded by community where not only can you be in your full brilliance and your full expression, unbound and uninhibited, fully open, fully expanded, fully audacious, but you can allow your genius to flow through the core of your heart uninhibited, and all the multiple dimensions of your expression are celebrated, encouraged, embraced,
Yes.
And so freedom,
Yes.
you know, freedom is a good resonance to practice. Because you'll align with realities that allow you to be free.
Yes.
If you have all these rules and these boxes around yourself, then you'll align to realities that reflect back to you all the ways that you've caged yourself in. And I've done this for sure. And so just selecting based on resonance and on frequency and being a full yes to how we want to feel.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And something's coming up for me that you and I haven't talked too much about. And it's around, so landing in that inner knowing that this is it, this is what I want, and constructing the intricacies of like, here's how. So for example, a relationship, an intimate relationship, there's going to be a lot of different dimensions and aspects of the relationship that you can visit within your own being of how it feels like, and you relate with your partner in this way and this way and this way, and you construct this experience within, and you already know and feel and land in the truth of it. And something so amazing about manifesting, this is the point, I don't think you and I have spoken about this, is that when it appears, there is still a level of surprise and joy and elation. And there's a simultaneous, yes, I fully consciously created this, and oh my gosh, it is here. Like, it's here and it's showing up and it's reflecting back to me all the codes that I embedded it with. And so I'm definitely in that experience right now of like receiving the creation. And I did create it. So almost you would think it wouldn't be a surprise. Like, I knew exactly what I was doing in my creation process. I do know exactly what I'm doing in the creation process. And yet there is still this utter joy and excitement and just like awe and wonder to see these creations literally appear and relate to me just as I anticipated. So there's the how I anticipated, but also there's the surprise. And that's the beauty of life, that we get to relate to life in this way. We get to totally consciously construct it, and then we get to be blown away. Also, we get to be blown away.
Yes, it's so good. That is really where like the majesty and the wonder and the awe comes online, because it's like, you know, when you're in your inner world and you're engineering your reality, or your connection to the frequency of the reality, and call it many different things. It's one thing to just be in that space, but when it really physically lands, it's such a sacred, beautiful, enchanting. I mean, to me, that's like the feel, like how we get to see how powerful we are as creators, and how simple and beautiful the process can be. And there's such there's a sweetness, and there's an innocence, and there's an expanded, you know, it's just like being in that force field of absolute peace and marvel and wonder and gratitude for the actual ease that is accessible to us. It does not have to be hard. Hard is a choice. Hard is a choice. And I deeply empathize with those choosing hard, because I've chose hard for a very long time. But when we really connect to the truth of our nature and of our quintessence, and the ease of this, we don't ever have to experience the hard again. We still do things, we still utilize our faculties, we're still active and passionate and engaging with life, but it doesn't have to be an uphill climb. It's more like a positioning at the peak, and then like a cascading down, like flowing down. You know, it's less of the arduous hike.
And then just micro adjustments where needed. Like if a little micro adjustment back into, oh no, I'm infinite. Oh, my infinite nature. Oh, right there. Oh, right there. Yeah,
and even finding, well, you know, there's a field of knowingness, but there's something in my own psychology that this really works for, is the word trust. And I think that this is something that is easily accessible to all of us to rapidly reorient our field. So if we find ourselves in patterns, or when we do need to readjust or dial as things arise and come up, it's like, wait a minute, everything is God. I am God. I'm everything surrounding me, is the source. And I can actually just melt into trusting the fullness of my creation. And in that single choice, in the allowing of ourselves to melt into that and expand, our energy expands and it shifts the whole field automatically. So anything that we may have been creating resistance or friction with, or anything that we may have been worried about or making hard on ourselves and it didn't need to be, we can melt and reorient very rapidly by just, the sacred portal is the breath. The breath is such well, I mean, that's why we're alive. It animates us. The breath. It's kind of, how we're beating and living and dancing. But how often do we forget to breathe? And just that exercise of going in and just, 30 times to just give that to yourself, you will reset your entire system and turn your brain on. You'll get oxygen and blood flowing to your brain and your body. You can easily reorient and you can return back to the space of all is well. And doing it here orients the whole quantum field. And so you now just shifted your reality. So anywhere where you might have created an external experience to mirror that hardship, like, okay, you're believing hard, so I'm going to give you all these beautiful ways to show you that, to show you hard, because that's what you're asking for on the inner realms. But if you want to shift that, you can start to cultivate and practice the space of ease and trust and pure flow, which is accessible directly through the breath. And if you find tension starting to accumulate in the body, returning to the breath, returning to a space of deep calm, and then moving back into your creation from that point of reorientation. And so it's really becoming it's like silk. It's learning how to silk's dancing, learning how to masterfully navigate flow like silk. So you can see where you're starting to disconnect from yourself, your body, your truth, your reality, and ultimately what you know to be true as the divine infinite source that you are. Because that's all that is, that's the only thing that creates the discomfort, is when we're disconnected from that truth. Right. And so we can start to notice where that's happening. And then there's so many beautiful, delicious, natural, easy, fun ways to reorient rapidly. And so the sooner we catch it, the sooner we can reorient. And that's that dialing. And eventually we start to actually flow friction-free through our lives. And this is an ongoing, it's not just like a peak and a valley or a high and a low. It becomes a new normal. And then we go into a space of going, okay, so now I've reached this new space of normalization around how open I'm willing to be, how much flow I'm allowing myself to house and express, which is directly correlated to how much abundance we experience in our lives on all levels, all the kinds of abundance, like literally living in the vortex of synchronicity, in love and beauty and money and travel and gifts and opportunity and connections and events and all the magic that is literally sprinkled like gold across our path. That is all around how open we are to allowing our flow to course through us and allowing ourselves to express it out. And the return of that abundance is natural and automatic. We don't have to make any of that happen. It just does. It's a natural function of life itself. And so we get to then play with, okay, I've opened up this much. I've allowed this much. I'm allowing myself to receive the castle, the lover, the prosperity, the health, the well-being, the energy, the connection to my
let's
power.
open some more. Let's
open.
Okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna open even more here. Okay. Yeah, and I feel like for you and I, it's part of the desire to create this container. It always comes through as an immaculate container when I feel into it, because that's part of what we're doing is we're saying, like, here is the immaculate container for you to step into and really remember that all is right here in every moment, right at your fingertips. And we want you to remember and remember and remember and remember and integrate and live in that knowing that it's right here. And when I feel into this program, I feel the sacred, sparkling space that is like, come into this container where you can remember and land in over and over again and embody this truth that all is right here for you. And you get to just choose. And us standing there and reflecting that truth, like, yes, you get to just choose. We see you choosing. You get to just choose it. Yes. Choose it. Yeah, go for it. Like, you can have that too. You can have that too.
It's like a magical, like, it's an elixir. It's so fascinating. When I was in Mexico, one of my beautiful, beloved goddess gal friends was just like, I just see people coming to you and you've got this kind of like cauldron and you're like stewing up these magical tinctures and you're just giving it to them and they're dancing off with like stars like in their wake. You're just giving them this magic. True. And it's kind of like, because we're all here, we all know this, we all have this understanding. It's all built in, we're all playing with it, we're all practicing it, we're all masters at it already. But there's something really magnificent that happens when we come together in the same field. And we actually just connect, not only eye to eye, but heart to heart and soul to soul. And we're all just elevating frequency together. And we're fertilizing the field. And the rate of where two or more are gathered, the rate at which things can land for everybody is so exponential, just by virtue of us all being in connection. Yeah. Even if the transmission was just a telepathic soul level, quintessential transmission, no words, no nothing, that unto itself would be a potent, palpable enough catalyst to move things, to get things shifting into harmonic congruence and alignment with each of our highest, because we wouldn't be aligning if our souls weren't resonating in these planes, in these dimensions already. And what was the so again, it's bringing me back to the Donald Trump and Eckhart Tolle. What they both know to be true about themselves is they accept their own perfection. And so when we're speaking of stepping into an immaculate container, it's the realization that, the quote Zion, the paradise, the heaven on earth timeline, reality world already exists in its absolute perfected whole state. We don't have to engineer it. We simply have to select to live from the perception and the felt resonance of it. And everything out here calibrates to it. And all of our inspiration, our creations, our actions arise from that place. So everything naturally aligns. So it's even actually just attuning to a whole new world and this is really probably quite revolutionary for so much of the leadership and the transformation community. And I've really been sitting with this in my own being for a while, because our greatest responsibility and in all of this as guides and leaders, and even it's taking on that word sometimes because we're all just source, we're all source, we're all masters, is to hold one another in that space and to hold the world in that space is our greatest responsibility. And so the notion that you are becoming perfect, or you are becoming a master, or that your perfected divinity can somehow be improved upon is wild. From the point of knowing your own perfection, our own perfection, then we enter into a pure creation journey. So no longer are you trying to self-improve or fill the void of not enoughness, of becoming more than you already are, which is impossible because you already are everything. But from that point of, I am everything, I am all timelines, all potentials, all possibilities incarnate. I am the source, I am perfect, I am whole. Now what do I want to create? And it just shifts the dynamic entirely, because it's now coming from a pure and whole connected place, instead of a disconnected, trying, rowing the boat, climbing the mountain, feeling like there's something maybe wrong, or that something that we're trying to get something that we don't have.
Yeah.
When we simply have and are everything already.
Yeah. It's now perspective versus some sort of separation perspective of, I'm this now and there's something over here that I'm going to become. No, it's all right here. Yeah. Yeah. And there's something I wanted to add about us creating the container as well, and doing this work together, which I know you'll resonate with. It's fun to play together. It's fun to come together with people who are, where we're all exuberant and excited and open. I mean, think about when you and I get together, and just like the joy and expansiveness that comes from, because our being, it's just fun. It's like, oh, yes, we get to play, and we get to share, and we get to create, and we get to see ourselves through each other's eyes, and we get to connect. And it's like the beauty and deliciousness of life to create together. Yeah. Why not? We all create in our own little worlds as well, in our solo time, solo space, solo worlds. And how fun to like come together and share and see and be seen.
Oh, that's where the glory is. It's like, there's a certain depth of fulfillment that is accessed from within, but to actually be so full with love that you're then now in a container with other beings who are also full with love, and you're just amplifying and augmenting.
Right. Yes.
And it's like, what we do for each other is when we liberate parts of one another, and we just enhance and inspire even more vivid, bold, voluptuous HD expression of our true genius, of our creativity, of our poetry, of our music, of our craft, of our intelligence, of our skill, of our savvy, of whatever it is that is unique and inherent to each of us. And we just come into a space and we amplify and catalyze that for each other. And it's so natural and graceful and electrifying. It really is electrifying. It's enlivening. It's fun. And you've got this container of support and true, deep, rich, soulful connection and creativity. And everybody's just there together. And I mean, when I started building my business, this is funny. This is the frequency that I wanted to bring through it. And this is exactly what translates through in all of my client relationships now, because we are like, we're not just friends, even we're family. We're family, and we send one another gifts, and we connect with each other so frequently. It's just such a depth of allyship and camaraderie. Like, we will always be in one another's lives to some capacity, even if we pop in like once a year and we're on our own adventures. There's such a depth of knowingness of our oneness and our connection, and to bring that resonance through. And we're brothers, we're sisters, we're mothers, we're fathers, we're family in this container, and we're all just creating together, and the whole darn thing can feel like a slumber party with the purpose and intention to realize our dreams and the greater dream that we have for the planet and the world at large. And to actually have a good time, not even just a good time, but like an actual, like, exhilarating, but still a very grounded, powerful time creating all of this. There's not, it's just the best. That's, for me, that's where the juice is, is to just be able to share that. And, when I was tuning into the purpose of life, because I was dancing through a lot of different dimensions in the transformative world and the leadership communities and the advising communities and business and consulting and all of this. And everybody had a very unique idea around what our purpose is. And I'm like, okay, what is the purpose of creation? I'm like, I want to know. I want to know, like, what is the prime? I want to go straight to the fountainhead of the source of my soul. And I want to know what is the actual purpose of why we're all here and what we're doing and what we're creating together as a unit. And it was to realize infinite potentials and possibilities, to actually to continue in the process of fulfilling our awareness of self and the crystallization of our dreams, and then our bigger dreams, and then our bigger dreams, and then our bigger dreams as a whole, and to really bring creation alive. So if you think of us as this ever emergent creative landscape, it's like, okay, we plant this, or the seed in the soil, and we nurture and we cultivate and we till the soil and we give it all of its nutrients, and it's in the womb and it's gathering all that electromagnetic energy and light, and the potential is stirring to be released. And we start to grow up out of the ground and bloom, and we become these vibrant, gorgeous, fully bloomed, radiant creations. And we're in a constant state of that expansion into blossoming into the fullness of our colors in such a multidimensional, full spectrum way. There's so many facets to who and what we are, and we're really just here to support that in one another, to encourage one another to full on allowance of flow and expression and creative emergence in all moments. And that's what animates us with life and allows more life to move through us, and allows us to also live in a space of continuous fulfillment. And when we're full, so this is when I went just straight to the fountainhead of love. When you're so full, when you know who and what you are, and you're embodying love at the deepest levels of your being, all that's left to do is to share it. That is it. That is the purpose. That is the purpose of all life, is to just be so full with our own nature. And the only true ecstasy from that point is to just... And that's the way that creation loves us. It's so unconditional, and it's so abounding and overflowing and non-ending. It's like, I love you so much. I feel the love that I am. I feel the love that you are. I just want to shower you.
Oh, yes. I'm so feeling what you're saying.
It's the quintess, it's like, it's truly like that, like the nature. It's the nature of the mother. Even though it's certainly androgynous in nature, that intelligence in our perception and our felt perception of what is masculine and feminine. It is a highly feminine energy, and it is just and it's so tender and unconditionally loving. It couldn't even fathom for a moment creating any kind of harm or doing anything to withhold from you or to not outpour itself.
Total overflow.
Wellspring. It's the golden chalice, constantly full and constantly giving. And so that's the ever emergent, and everything else that we truly want and desire when we're living from that space. This is great. This is where we get to transcend all the paradigms of like needing to go out and quote. And there's not anything wrong with these paradigms. Like, I really love them and appreciate them all because I've lived through them, and I think they all have I know they all have their beauty and their majesty and their richness and their wisdom and their fulfillment too. But like the going out to get and to achieve and to conquer and to there's so much beauty in what that does for us, and the way that it develops our character and our strength and our integrity and our virtue and all of that, and our even recognition of our own capacities and what it is that we can do. But we start to shift from that space of needing to do that instead, and we allow ourselves to literally unfold and just land worlds. So imagining there's one moment of the eternal now. There's always one moment, and we're moving with it. So it's like we're a part of this larger scope, this field of perfected beingness. So this is fascinating. It's like when I was looking at the chart of the scale of consciousness, is so great because the top, it's like the God view. It's the ineffable intelligence. There's no way to do. It's so multidimensional and full of its own, like ecstasy. It's just beyond, it's beyond description, it's beyond title. It's just the nature of that. And that's the way that it works. It's like that quintessence is being drawn up out of us, is how it comes through. And we're just in that bloom, and we're in a space in humanity now, which is so exciting. Yes, yes, yes. The diamond age, where we no longer need to oscillate between any of these lower pillars. We literally inhabit the God view, the God field, the paradise, the Zion. And from there, there's all these other now layers and spirals we get to experiment with. And it's all creative in nature. So now it's less about transforming and becoming than it is about being and exploring our capacities as creators. How do all of these marvelous intertechnologies work? How do my sonic energy field technologies work? How does my holographic, visionary, psychic technology work? How do I play with this? How do I experiment with all the different ways that I can create and land things in my reality? And we're at a place now in our embodiment where we can do that, and it's instantaneous. You have to actually be resonating in love for the so much of this to start coming online. And so somebody said this once, and I thought it was a beautiful example. It's almost like those developmental stages are necessary so that we don't like enter as gods into a reality of instant creation and actualized catastrophe. And so there's this beautiful that we've constructed, another game we decided to play, where we got to remember the ease and grace of our capacity to be in those fields. And then we actually just allow ourselves to inhabit that. We get to experiment and play. It's total freedom. We just get to play with ways to create. It's extraordinarily powerful. And, you know, there's so many people who are doing this, and I'm really an advocate of just being blatant about it. It's just full on illumination and unconditional love is all it is. It's not, there's no mystery. There's not a secret. There's no secret. There's no group that knows more than anybody else. We're all the same being. It's just about the illumination of our full consciousness. And in the illumination, because light is information, we reveal our own capacities and our own awareness of self to ourselves. And so we now get to create in these expansive ways, and we're just totally aligned to the truth of our nature, and we get to go and play and utilize our gifts, like in Egypt, where they had everything so precisely dialed and attuned in the pyramids, and utilizing their telepathic capacities as a unit in order to construct these massive, extraordinary constructs that allowed them to communicate and create between worlds, between dimensions. And we have all of these capacities. I mean, I won't go super far out there, but I'll just get a little bit. But the next evolution of us in our actual physical vessel is the shift from carbon-based density to a crystalline structure, and then to a diamond structure, which has a bit more strength and integrity than the crystalline structure. But that's like the in-between evolution of that. And once we're fully embodied in that, and more of our DNA is activated, we're utilizing 2 to 3 strands. We've got 13 that can fully come online in our avatar. So there's so much more light and potential. And in this evolution, the brain, as we start to embody unity consciousness, omni consciousness, the God view, that all is perfect. It's the unified will. So it's the law of one. There's all these different ways that we reference, that we can reference and do reference that field. What actually happens in the human brain is that the left and the right hemispheres begin to fuse and fire together. So we're actually starting to create an omni mind, where all of the survival mechanisms start to filter out. We start to actually evolve those parts of the brain. And in that, with the lightness of being, with the removal of density, it gives us the very real capacity to travel in our light body between worlds, between atmospheres. Now, I mean, I'm actually not even going to put a limitation on the time for that, because we're about to exponentially evolve. We already are. If we already think, it's like by the time you catch the moment, boom, you're growing. You're not, you can't hold anything anymore. You just have to be present. There's, the integration and the processing happens in the now simultaneously. If we just allow it to, our beings got it. It's fully downloaded. If you want to drop into it and melt into it, that's beautiful too, but it's not required. It's so exponential now that it's all just happening simultaneously in the present moment. So we can just stay in that. What's accessible to us is so far beyond. It's like out of a sci-fi movie, but it's actually real and it's actually happening on our planet right now. And a lot of these technologies are being constructed, and we can go way, 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 way down the rabbit hole, but I'll just leave it at that for now. But this is magnificent that we're here, and we're literally choosing to just accept and step into these domains of consciousness and shift more into the creator's journey. Because at completion, even, what was it, it was this funny insight that came through. It just random downloads that come sometimes that make me laugh, was that alchemy, even though we've all been on this deep alchemical journey and we're continuously, it happens simultaneously, like it's a process that is occurring simultaneously alongside all other things in the present moment. The alchemy and the transformation, the changing of form within our being is a natural process of living life and being in motion and being expanding beings. Is that intentional alchemy is like a GMO. We're intentionally genetically modifying ourselves. And so going in and doing some of the things that we do to ourselves alchemically, I know it's funny, and it's also what I want to deeply honor. I love alchemy. I practice alchemy. I'm not in any way but it just is just
interesting,
a clear insight, because what we're doing is we're genetically modifying instead of allowing ourselves to live from the perfect, because the seed is already perfect. It doesn't need to be modified by us.
Actually, it's really true.
It needs to be allowed by us.
Yes.
And so, and when we enter into this field, all of these revelations start to come online. It's like, oh, wow, you've been selecting that. No, I've been evolving to something that's already so complete. Again, the Omega. It's already so perfect and whole and complete. I don't have to evolve into it. I just need to receive myself and allow myself, ourself, to be what it already is. Yeah. And there's so much liberation in just living from that knowingness. And so much of the old programming starts to just, it almost just like vanishes. It starts to slough off, but there's not even it just becomes obsolete.
Right, because what is focused on in the now is the only thing, and you almost can't even access that there was some sort of journey, transformational journey, when you are it. That it's no longer present. Yeah.
My love, it's done.
What?
When you're writing, my love, it is done.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's so potent. It's so cool because it is.
Done. Yeah, and it is done in every moment. It is done.
Yeah. And only the perception of it being incomplete is what creates the incompletion. And so as a whole, we're coming back into that space of unified awareness.
Right. Yeah, and what you're saying is the journey can be, I don't know the words you use, but there's something really profound there. It's shifting from the journey being a journey of becoming to a moment by moment, day by day, choosing of again and again and again. So total, like the creation is complete in every moment. And then it's a choosing of complete creations over and over and over again as your heart desires, as your being desires, rather than a journey to arrive to the complete creation, right? Like, yes.
So there is something really meaty in there too. So in that band, what I picked up, like the band of information was, until we're creating from a space of completion, all of our creations that manifest will reflect back to us some part of incompletion and unwholeness, and they will be unsustainable.
That's right.
Because they're not anchored in integrity.
Yes.
So if we want a creation that's fully anchored in integrity and
Yes.
completion, it has to come from that place.
That's right. And that's the creations that we all want.
Right.
We want the creations that are whole. Yes. We want even the like human creations. We want the creation that feels complete as it is. Yes. Like even the relationship that you land, it's whole. Yes. That's actually an option. Right? Yes. It's an option. Like it's the complete. There's no process. There's no molding and shaping within. You land in the whole creation. And that is the creation that we all are, whatever the creation is, whether it is the relationship, the money, and that's not to say our beings are going to continue to want to create again, but we're always going to want to create the whole creation, or there will be a level of dissatisfaction embedded within the creation, and we're going to have to create it again to try to get to that wholeness. The only way to create the whole creation is to create from the state of wholeness, the deep embodied recognition that it is already here, it is already you, it is already done, and that's literal. It's like just literal. It's straight up. It's not a concept. It's not a philosophy. It's like it's here in the body, the knowing of completion again and again and again and again and again, arrival into completion. And what is more ecstatic than that?
Ooh.
I mean,
yeah,
yum.
Right. And then you don't have to all the different things around karma and samsara and being on the wheel of creation and death and rebirth and recreation, all of that, we can actually just shift over into complete, pure creation, dharma, beingness, and all of our creations will come through in their wholeness and their fullness. And then there's just more wholeness and fullness to create, which is just novelty upon novelty upon novelty.
Yeah, and I always, it's so simple, and it seems so like, and almost not grand or something, but it's fun. it's really
the ultimate
fun.
Grand.
It's exactly. It's like, for me, that's how I orient to life. It's like, as creating from this space and really an embodied mastery of landing in my being, living in my own wholeness and creating from that knowing of wholeness. It's like, wonderful, great. What can I create now? Let's enjoy this. Let's have fun. I'm here to have fun. What else would I be doing? Like, let's do that. So the joy of really living in this level of mastery, and then you really do get to just enjoy life. Like, okay, what flavors do I want to taste? What experiences do I want to taste? What do I want to play with now? There's so much. Whatever I can think up within, whatever I can feel within, whatever I can envision and create within can be, is at my fingertips. It can be mine, and actually already is mine. So let's have some fun.
Yes. And just even being connected to that through all things in all moments, being in the resonance.
That in itself.
Right.
That's heaven.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. Like just having it's relationship, having that relationship with your creation, with life, and all the components of it. Yay. How does that feel?
It feels good, girl.
So if you would love, well, we would just love to have you come play with us. If you want to play with us, solararose.com/holosphere. We love you guys so much, and we're just thrilled and excited to make magic together.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us, everyone.
Yeah. Love you. Love you. Mwah,
More
mwah,
soon.
mwah.
Mwah.
Bye, beloved.